I'm pretty sure I'm getting proposed to. Good morning. Fancy seeing you here. Now, if you're wondering why I am looking a little bit dishevelled and worse for wear, that will partly explain why I'm going to need your help for the next 48 hours. Last night I had a little surprise dinner party for a friend who is leaving the country for Australia. Now, in said dinner party, I probably had one too many wines, especially for a girlie who is passionate about women living their healthiest, happiest life. I have definitely not put myself in a state where I will be living my happiest, healthiest life this morning. So it is Saturday morning. I'm gonna put a screenshot of my calendar on screen right now. Every single red mark is an assessment or a deadline. On Monday, I'm doing a talk at a secondary school. And on Wednesday, I'm going to Finland. I am very glad that I socialised with my friends last night and it was a lovely, lovely, lovely evening. Maybe should I have laid off the wine so that I was in a better headspace today to tackle my endless list of things that I need to do? Yes, probably. So I woke up this morning, I had a little bit of scrolly time, and I did think to myself, Faye, you absolutely cannot afford to be having scrolly time right now. This is not the time. You have so much to do. Hence, where you enter the conversation. My boyfriend is off. When I tell you what my boyfriend is doing, I need you to remember that I am not advocating for this behaviour. In fact, I think this behaviour is fucking stupid, excuse my language, and not health advice at all. Full stop. My boyfriend is doing a beer marathon with his friends. He is away for the weekend to do said beer marathon. Now, if you're wondering, what is a beer marathon? What does a beer marathon involve? A beer marathon involves running 4 kilometres, like running a 4 kilometre lap, coming back, spinning a wheel. The wheel decides what you have to drink, then you down a drink. He started an hour ago. I think it is 10 a.m. The behaviour of an imbecile is what that is. Anyway, so my boyfriend is away. Normally my boyfriend is actually quite good at keeping me accountable. I'm a huge believer in body doubles, especially if you have ADHD, for productivity. My boyfriend is my in-house living body double. So when he is around, I'm actually quite good at being productive. Him not being here, me having a couple too many wines last night, not a good access to the online world on a device that I can pick up in my hand. These three things are making it very likely that without you here keeping tabs on me right now, I would spend the whole day scrolling on my phone and acting like I have all the time in the world, which I absolutely don't. On that note, I have not eaten breakfast. Come with me to feed myself. So yes, your role, ideally, if you choose to accept it, Jesus, it is to just keep me accountable. Keep me accountable. And before anyone gets on my ass about toxic productivity this, toxic productivity that, I had a great time last night. Toxic productivity is when you just feel like you can't enjoy yourself without feeling guilty. Guys, I did enjoy myself last night without feeling guilty. I do not feel guilty about it this morning, but the reality is I have a master's to do. I have a podcast that needs to go up every Monday, and I have a secret project. And I promise I'm gonna try not be extremely irritating talking about this secret project 24/7. However, when I tell you this secret project will be my biggest life achievement to date, and it will also be the biggest piece of work I've ever undertaken on anything ever. Which is why it's really challenging to not be able to say what it is. So I can't say what it is until October this year. I feel like there are going to be points over the next few months where I would imagine I just drop off the face of the earth, because that is the only way to complete this secret project. And it will be extremely challenging for me to not be able to say why I've just dropped off the face of the earth. I'm a girlie with big goals, you know? And to achieve those big goals, the night after having one too many wines, you have to get up and sort your shit out. I'm sorry, that's not toxic productivity, that is the way of the world. Let me make myself some breakfast. I also started my period today, so when I tell you I need you to keep me accountable, I need you to keep me accountable. I feel like we are due a little life catch up as well. So I am about halfway through my masters. This is my second term of my women's health masters. I have to say, it's absolutely phenomenal. Everything I could have possibly wanted. I feel like it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things. Like, I think I didn't realise how much I was looking at women's health still through quite a doctory lens, which isn't a bad thing. Being a doctor, you spend a lot of your time working around doctors, and there are actually so many things, so many patterns in women's health that I didn't actually realise how toxic they were. As someone who's passionate about women's health, I still didn't notice all the ways medicine in this country, the NHS, can be extremely toxic for women, and it's been phenomenal. There are a lot of the essays. I haven't written an essay in a very long time. Getting my head back into that academic space has taken a little bit of getting used to. I was always more of an exam person, like, give me revision and an exam, yes, I will stress myself out. Will I get a good mark? Absolutely. I hated coursework because I think that it relies so much more on regular, more steady input. Like, you can cram for an exam. It is very, very, very difficult to cram an essay, in my experience. Now, I also was off on my jollies for a fairly long time. I was away for 2 weeks for a friend's wedding in India, and I was away for 1 week in Brazil for Carnival. And India was phenomenal. Going to an Indian wedding, amazing. Spending 3 days with my bestest friends from medical school, when we obviously don't get to spend as much time together now as we would like, was just so gorgeous. And just dancing late into the night with your best friends, there is just nothing in this world that tops that, in my opinion. I did a pretty shoddy job of documenting the whole process, but I will put my friend Rafi's TikToks on the screen somewhere now. He did some fabulous vlogs of the wedding. Yeah, it was just unreal. Then we went to Rio, and Rio was amazing, but I was so tired by that point. Time difference from India to the UK is 5.5 hours. Time difference from the UK to Rio is 3 hours. We flew back to the UK. I had 1 day in the UK and then went to Brazil. So I was like leapfrogging this 8-hour time difference, and then proceeded to go enjoy Carnival and shake my little ass, you know? I was wrecked by the end. I was ready for some routine and a solid 8 hours of sleep. Also, when I was in Brazil, I am pretty sure I got spiked. And I know what you're thinking, Faye, did you really get spiked, or did you just maybe enjoy yourself a little bit too much? Guys, the way I was vomiting, you know, back in my younger years, I have experienced drinking too much and throwing up. This was not drinking up and throwing up. I was vomiting every 20 minutes, sorry if you're squeamish, for an entire 24-hour period. And when there was nothing left in my stomach, I was just dry heaving like it was going out of fashion. It was disgusting. I slept on the floor by the toilet. And then after that, I couldn't really enjoy myself. There was one day it was between the bedroom and the bathroom. That was it. I did not do anything else. And if you're thinking, Faye, you have absolutely nothing to complain about in life. You've just been on your hollybobs for 3 weeks. Guys, I completely get you. The 3 weeks of hollybobbing was a very intentional choice, because you see, with the secret project now, fun is banned. There is no more fun allowed. It is lock yourself in a room and you get this done. Apart from, I'm going to Finland on Wednesday. But Finland was supposed to be a get myself out of the UK so I have no distractions, focus in on this secret project so I get a bulk of the work done. However, my boyfriend has decided to hijack said trip, and I don't know whether to include it in this vlog. Maybe I will for men. It's just going to be embarrassing if it doesn't happen. I'm pretty sure I'm getting proposed to. I'm going to finish my breakfast and then I will do 1 hour of work. And then my reward is going to be explaining my hypotheses on Finland. Okay, but I need to finish my food. Also, I did a TED Talk. Completely glossed over that. I will put the vlog on screen now because I did vlog the whole weekend. And it was probably one of my proudest moments, not for the fact I did a TED Talk, but because I regulated my nervous system through it. I didn't panic myself into a frenzy where I couldn't get my words out properly or couldn't convey the message that I'd worked so hard to convey. So if you do want to watch that vlog after this one, then on screen in the description, whatever you want. And there were a couple questions on whether the talk will be available to watch for you guys. Guys, I'm going to be so real with you, and I think I say it at the end of the other vlog, but by the time I went on stage, half the audience had left, and I found it quite disheartening. There was also someone on the second row who was just phone out, full brightness on, a man, phone up to his face. I don't think he listened to a single word I said, and I put a lot of work into the talk. I think it has a really, really important meaning, and I did feel a little bit disheartened coming out of it when, well, every time I looked over in this direction, there was just this man like on his phone while I'm talking about the injustices of women's health. It was infuriating. Anyway, so if the video hadn't have been recorded, I would be feeling a lot worse because I reckon about 20 people were in the audience listening to my talk. Maybe 30 at a push. When it goes up on the TED YouTube, you will be the first to know, I promise, because there is no way that I put that much work into that talk for 30 people to see it. And it's an important message. It is a very, 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 very important message. This feels a little bit silly to say, if I'm being honest, but this last week I've actually felt pretty crap. Did the TED Talk on Saturday. Sunday I was super depresso. I think because I just felt really disheartened about a mix of gold medal syndrome vibes where you achieve something that's externally seen as very good, but actually internally you're like, why does this not make me feel any happier? You know, there was a little bit of that, but then there was also the disheartening, the disappointment. No one was really in the crowd, and there was a joke that I said that no one laughed at, which was pretty humbling. Yeah, you may see that on the recording, and that's just made me cringe. Anyway, it was maybe a little bit too highbrow for the audience. What can I say? I said, I don't think you're going to find it funny. My boyfriend was a little bit sceptical about whether this joke would work. My talk was quite anger-inducing, you know, about the injustices in women's health. But then every, you know, so often I just peppered in a little joke to make it a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more whimsical. And the talk revolved around the mother tongue of science is man. So at every section I said, like, the mother tongue of science is man. It's time we became bilingual. But every section was like a little variation. Thought that was kind of funky. My friend Em suggested that to me when I spoke the talk out loud to her. So I wrote a line when I was talking about comparing me learning Spanish to how, to the scientific world, learning the language of the female body was basically the analogy. And I said, when I was talking about how there's a lack of menstrual health education in schools or just general women's health education, I said at the end of the section, the mother tongue of science is man, and we aren't even teaching women una cerveza, por favor. Crickets. Crickets. Crickets can be heard. I thought it was quite funny. My mum, my dad, and my boyfriend were also all in the audience. You could have laughed. Just a pity laugh even. Yeah, so mixed emotions for the last week. And then I've just been a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit stressed. Week before my period. Yesterday I had a full-blown breakdown to my boyfriend because we have been in this flat since September. That is 8 months. We've been in this flat 8 months. I cannot keep saying, oh, we've just moved in, that's why it's a mess. The wardrobes don't have handles on them still. There's no storage in the living room. Everything is constantly cluttered. It's really starting to stress me out. And I think that I did want to vlog a lot more this year. And every time I go to get my camera out, I'm like, this flat is just dead. It feels like home, but it's not a space that feels like aesthetically represents me and Dylan, because we've just both been so busy, we haven't had the time to put into it. And you know, just when you've been living with something for months, and then all of a sudden you're like, I do not care that this has been going on for months. It needs to be changed right now. And that was me yesterday, the day before my period, having a full-blown meltdown about the flat. Fair to say, emotionally I feel a little bit better today. Anyway, I need to finish my food, do an hour's work, and then I will explain my proposal theory. I lied. I'm actually going to venture out and get some coconut milk or soy milk. Otherwise, I fear that I will not see the light of day at all today. And I know that sometimes it gets to the end of the day, I feel a little bit depressed. And then I'm like, why do I feel depressed? Yes, I have not seen the outside world. We also do not have any coconut milk or soy milk. So I am going to go out, see which one I can get my hand on, and then swiftly return back to the confines of this flat where I can actually get some work done. Let's go. I'm gonna record. we have the goods, which means I can undertake the most important task of the day in determining my productivity, make myself a banging coffee. Okay, we have fun drink number one. My assistant got me this glass for Christmas. How cute is it? Guys, I've hardly used this, if I'm being completely honest. I have been sent it, but I try and just take things that I've been sent in a organised way. So I try and take them consistently for a long period of time whilst researching the ingredients and while seeing whether it works personally for me. So I haven't taken this that much, but I was just looking at the ingredients then and it looks pretty good. I haven't in depth looked into it or like the amounts of everything within the mix, but it tastes good. It feels like a nice recovery focused drink. Now time for drink number two. So this is a little bit rogue, but I do tend to put turmeric, black pepper and cinnamon in my coffee every morning. I think I did a bit too much milk. I mean, you cannot tell me that it's not a frothy coffee. Finally, it is time to work. Right, 1 hour of work and then I will indulge you with my proposal theories. But first, let me explain something much more exciting. The essays I have due. Now, hold your horses. I actually think they are quite interesting essays, to be honest with you. This is the issue with education. I love learning about things. I hate being assessed on them. The topics I'm writing my essays on, I could yap for hours about. Coherently formulating cohesive thoughts on a computer is another thing. Let me get my calendar up. So in 3 days, I have a debate in my law and ethics module about whether it is ever right to forcibly give someone contraception. We were allocated for and against. I'm on the against side, so I have to cohesive formulate my arguments for that debate. Number one. And then in 9 days, I have a oral presentation on my concepts and controversies module, which is like more of a sociology module for women's health. Now, I am a science girly through and through. Sociology, I really enjoy the discussions. Formulating a piece of work for a sociology module is completely alien to me, guys. I'm pooing my pants. I have no idea what I'm doing. But the topic that I've chosen to do it on is extremely interesting. It is all about when you go to a doctor's and the doctor tells you you're anxious, even if you've got physical symptoms, and how, yes, women absolutely can be anxious. It doesn't mean that they don't also have a physical diagnosis. So that is called diagnostic overshadowing. So my topic is diagnostic overshadowing in autoimmunity. So I've tried to narrow it down to just autoimmune conditions. Extremely interesting, guys. So interesting. Some of the papers, maybe I'll link them down below, really eye-opening. And a presentation, I'm a yapper. I think I can be okay with that. Then in 13 days, I have 2,000 words due for my dissertation, the first part of my dissertation, basically, which is wild. And I don't actually know if I can talk about my dissertation topic because it's part of a wider piece of research that I'm not allowed to speak about, which is really cool. That's not my secret project. They are two separate secret things. One is a uni secret project, the other thing is just purely outside of uni. Then in 16 days, I have my essay due on diagnostic overshadowing in autoimmunity, so the sociology essay that's based on the presentation that I do. So it's quite nice. The presentation is like a easy in, and then we submit the essay once we've got feedback on the presentation, which is good. And finally, in 19 days, I have an exam in pregnancy and childbirth. So that is 5 pretty big deadlines. I'm a little bit stressed. That is on top of this secret project that I'm working on that It's not the secret project that's part of my dissertation, the secret project that is going to be tearing me limb from limb up until July. So it is fair to say I have absolutely no business yapping away to a camera for the last 10 minutes. I have work to do. I think the best use of my time, I'm a big lover of the Eisenhower matrix. If you have not come into contact with the Eisenhower matrix, let me tell you, the Eisenhower matrix is perfect for you if you productively procrastinate. So I'm talking about clearing out your camera roll, yeah? You feel that that is productive. It doesn't induce guilt, maybe in the same way that watching Netflix does or like doom scrolling does, but actually you are just procrastinating the tasks that are more urgent. I have a lot of videos on explaining the Eisenhower matrix. I will explain it very quickly right now because that is really annoying, just leaving it as a link on screen. I'm really sorry. But I'm also equally sorry if you've already watched the gazillion other videos where I talk about the Eisenhower matrix again and again and again and again. Basically, you create a grid. The grid has 2 headings on the top, 2 headings along the side. Along the top, it is important and not important. Tasks that are important are tasks that align with your priority goals. For me, my priority goal is getting my master's degree, okay? A not priority goal, evidently, if you've seen this flat at the moment, is decorating the flat, okay? You know, that's why I crashed out yesterday. So defining something that is important or not important is extremely challenging. Like arguably decorating the flat is important. It creates a homely, happy environment, okay? So define important and not important by what are your immediate most important goals, okay? Then it makes it so much more simple because I think that's what a lot of people get wrong with the Eisenhower matrix. Important, not important. Then along the side you have urgent and not urgent, okay? Is it urgent that I clear out my wardrobe? Absolutely not. Is it urgent? Is it urgent that I get cracking on all these essays that are due over the next 3 weeks? Abso-fucking-lutely. Sorry, I have got those 2 mixed up. It's actually urgent, not urgent on the top, important, not important along the side. I will put a picture on screen right now because I'm butchering this. And then, just like that, you have prioritised in the most straightforward way imaginable. It's brilliant. And then you just look in your important, urgent quadrant and immediately you have your priority tasks for the day. If you get those done, you are winning. I'm going to do a little brain dump quickly and then I'm going to prioritise and I'm going to tell you the tasks that I'm going to do so that you can hold me accountable by the end of the day. Oh, I also have an International Women's Day post that I need to schedule for tomorrow because today is March the 7th and maybe I will just give a very little hint about my secret project that is not part of my uni dissertation. International Women's Day next year will be a very, very, very big day for me. Possibly the biggest day of my life. Another hint, the reason International Women's Day next year is going to be such a huge day for me is the reason I cannot open my big fat gob about what this secret project is because it is so far away. If I told you what was happening a year from now, it would actually just be really irritating because it's like, I don't know, telling someone, oh, are you looking forward to Christmas dinner? No, I'm not looking forward to Christmas dinner, it's March. Like, you can't get too excited for Christmas too early, otherwise it ruins it. You have to only get excited on the lead up to Christmas. So although it is very irritating, I keep referring to it as a secret project, it would be more irritating if I was saying what it was and then telling you that you were going to have to wait a year. I will be able to tell you what the secret project is from October, but the big day for the secret project will be International Women's Day next year. Okay, I feel like I've probably got myself in trouble. Let me do a brain dump. You have been here since the Med School vlogs, then oh my Lord Almighty, thank you so much for putting up with me for all this time. Number 2, you will be well acquainted with what I'm gonna show you next because Forest is well and truly back. Since being a student again, my screen time has been just appalling. Like appalling to the point where me and my boyfriend now have set passwords on each other's phone for the limit on our screen time. So if we hit our limit in a day, we have to put forward our case to the other person on why they should put in the code and we can keep scrolling. And then every week we've been trying to reduce it by like 15 minutes. It has worked really well. I would highly, highly, highly recommend it if you've been noticing your screen time getting a little bit out of control, because let's be completely honest, the screen time limits on Apple do absolutely nothing. It's like BBC iPlayer checking if you've got a TV license. Like it's what is that supposed to achieve, you know? So having a password on it that I literally do not know, I have to ask him to give me the password for, has been a lifesaver. Because also I kind of knew that becoming a student again and having a little bit more freedom in my schedule than when I was working full-time in the NHS, I knew that that would result in worse boundaries with my phone. I know my personality type. I am super, super, super addictive. I am a big old procrastinator. I have to put in really, really, really good strategies to stop myself from procrastinating. So I knew it, and it was probably one of the things that made me most anxious, especially being on social media. I can be awful, like really, really, really bad, and it's not good for my mental health, you know? I notice such a clear correlation between my screen time and my mental well-being. So I was super anxious about it anyway. I start my masters, I have more freedom. Some of my lectures don't start until 11. What do? I'm not waking up, getting changed and going straight into the hospital anymore. I have time in the morning, like to sit and drink my coffee, and instead of speak to my boyfriend, call my parents, do something that is gonna fill my cup, what do? I have been really, really, really bad for scrolling in the morning, scrolling at my desk, scrolling on my commute. And I feel really embarrassed to admit this because I've done, you know, videos on how to get your screen time down. I know the science of why it is really, really, really bad for us, but I have been failing big time on that front. So Forest is well and truly back. This is the longest Forest I've set in ages. Again, if you've been here since the med school vlogs, when I worked my way up to doing like 2 hour, 3 hour forests, I used to smash them. I was a beast. I will set this forest, but let me just really quickly show you one of my forests. This is probably my proudest achievement to date. One of my forests from finals. In 2021, I used Forest for 716 hours and 37 minutes. That was peak med school vlog, Faye. And you can see, like, basically that was all my exam time. And that, my friends, is how I got a job in London. 700 hours. In March of 2021, I did 189 hours, 26 minutes on Forest. That is 6 hours every single day on Forest. Sometimes my imposter syndrome gets so bad that I'm like, I don't actually deserve my medical degree. I'm just a silly little girl, you know. I'm not actually that smart, or blah, 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 blah. I just need to look at that forest and remind myself, hey, you put in a fucking graph. Anyway, I didn't even put the forest on. I've just been yapping and not put the forest on. Okay, 1 hour is going on the clock. I'm not allowed to tell you my proposal theories until this 1 hour is done. Guys, if he's not proposing, this is going to be really hard to cut out because I keep referencing it. This vlog is just going to have to be binned. Okay, 1 hour on the clock. Let's go. You take your own advice and then you think, why on earth do I not take my own advice more? Like, my biggest issue whenever I have like a lot of work to do is just getting started. As soon as I get started, I become so fixated and in my flow that like it actually becomes difficult to tear me away from my computer. But getting me to sit down and actually get into a flow state, that is where the challenge occurs. But you are going to be so proud of me. I actually did an extra 25 minutes as well. Or is that 25 seconds? No. 1 hour. And I actually got in a really good flow state, which was lovely. Got a good bit of my essay done, which is fab. I am going to make myself a cup of tea. Whilst I'm making myself a cup of tea, let's talk about my suspicions. I also did an M&S order of loads of thermals for Finland next week because I want to look cute in case my suspicions are correct. And as a 4'11" girly, it is quite difficult to look cue when you're in a cold environment. I don't want to look like the Michelin Man when I'm being proposed to, basically, which is a little bit of a challenge. I'm going to sound so out of touch, but I never make myself a tea, ever. My boyfriend is always the one who makes the tea and generally just makes the hot drinks. So I actually don't know where the tea is. I also have never used this dishwasher, like never. We have had it for about 2 months. It does tell you a lot about the division of labour in this home. Would you like to hear my proposal theory? I'm going to sit in Dylan's chair so that my brain associates sitting in this chair with yap, 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 and then my brain associates sitting in that chair with work, 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 work. Okay, where do I begin? So at the beginning of the year, Secret Project was confirmed, okay? And I do think that creatively, I work better when I'm in another country. I think putting just the action of being in an environment that's not associated with all your regular habits, be they positive or bad, I think it just is a pattern interrupt. A really good pattern interrupt to get you thinking outside the box and more creatively. Where this Secret Project, I would like to deliver it to the best of my ability, and that does require creativity. So I floated the idea to my boyfriend that we went on a working trip. So a trip where I could get away, be in another environment, away from distractions, and feel inspired and creatively energized. Now, my boyfriend works from home basically all the time. I think he only has to go into the office like twice a month, but for his mental well-being, he goes in maybe once or twice a week. But there is that flexibility there. And I said to him, you know, we, both of us, have a good deal of flexibility when it comes to our work. And we don't really utilise that as much as we should. The last 2 years have been very busy for us. Between moving twice, working full-time in the NHS, we haven't got around to doing as many weekend trips as we would have liked. So this idea was kind of floated, and red flag number one, he latched onto this idea. Now, I'm going to need you to remember that the premise of this trip was a working trip. That is important later on. So he comes to me and he's like, I've looked at Finland, I have found somewhere and I have booked it. Okay. And then he doesn't show me the booking, he shows me screenshots of the place that he has booked. Now, also need you to remember this for later on. I looked at the pictures and I thought, looks a bit mid, and my spidey senses were tingling when he latched onto this trip anyway. But then I saw the screenshots that he showed me and I was like, it's giving like Premier Inn in Finland vibes, which he knows me well enough to know that I absolutely do not want to be proposed to in a Premier Inn vibey place in Finland. I don't care how pretty it is outside. I like a little bit of luxury. What can I say? That kind of put me off. He also booked Ryanair flights to Finland, and I just don't know if I could. This is going to make me sound like a princess. I absolutely do not care. I have got many a Ryanair flight in my time, and I'm sure I will get many a Ryanair flight in the future, but I don't know how I would feel being proposed to and then walking on to a plane and seeing that offensive blue and yellow in my face. I just personally, it's a very special experience. I don't want to have to look at those blue and yellow seats when I'm high on engagement buzz. Okay, so my cons list was stacking up, and also I think it's a bit obvious, and I have made my preferences very clear. It is an absolute essential that I cannot have any idea what is going on, because I am A, a control freak, B, get severe stress anxiety. So whenever I sense a change is coming up, whether that's a good change or a bad change, I go out of my mind. I don't know what happens to me. It's not a conscious thing. I just completely lose it. The night before I moved out of my parents' home to go work in the NHS full time, I had an argument with my parents, Dylan, everyone, completely irrational. It was like they were arguing with a 14-year-old girl. Like, there's no speaking to me. It's so odd. I'm so on edge. Moving, same thing happens when I move. I just get so uptight and stressed about everything. So I've made it clear I don't want to have any idea that it's coming up, because it will send me into a bit of a spiral. And then number 3, all my friends, everyone has said it is impossible to surprise you, Faye. And to that I say, say, you lack creative ability. You absolutely can surprise me. You just need to think. So I do think Finland is a little bit obvious. I don't think he's done a great job of hiding it. I don't actually feel that stressy, but maybe next week I will. Who knows? So what gave it away is I asked him 2 days ago, I said, have you booked annual leave for next week? This man said yes. This man has no annual leave left. We have just been in India. We have a busy year ahead of us. I'm pretty sure he had to buy some anyway. So he's not using his annual leave if he does not have to use his annual leave. And considering that the whole premise was we were going to go and we were going to work, that was another red flag. The final red flag is, you know, I said that it was giving Finland Premier Inn. So I asked him for the name of the hotel that we're staying in. The pictures are just awful. It's absolutely not Finland Premier Inn. We have our own sauna, we have our own hot tub. It's like an isolated unit on this resort in the snow. It's stunning. And if there's one piece of advice I could give you for finding a good partner, is my big belief is you should find someone who complements all your weaknesses. One of my weaknesses is I'm financially irresponsible. Cuff me. I love nice things. You don't need to convince me to spend money. I have to work quite hard being more financially responsible. And I financially have my shit together, you know? I bought a home. I'm not in debt apart from my mortgage. I have money in savings. I have money in investments. But what can I say? I like to enjoy myself. And my boyfriend is such a financially responsible man. What I do really love about him is he's not selfish. So when it comes to me, he will spend money, but it's little things like if we go to the shop, he will notice what deals are best. He will be a lot more conscious than I am probably with spending. Anyway, he tells me the name of this hotel. I look up the name of this hotel. This hotel is definitely pricier than what he would spend for a quick weekend away. And he also hasn't added the flights, the hotel to our shared tab on Monzo. Now that's like not unusual for him. As I said, like he's very, very, very generous when it comes to me, but financially responsible. So it's not unusual that he hasn't added it to the shared tab on Monzo, but I think it is pertinent, especially considering that I was treating it like a work trip. So he was going to come and keep me company whilst I worked. So normally in that situation, I would be paying and I would be booking everything because the purpose is for me. I say that it could also just be a just because trip. He took me to Paris in December just because. So it could very well be a just because trip, but my spidey senses are tingling and I'm trying not to dig too much because I never thought I was super Virgo-y, right? Until the prospect of being proposed to came up. Guys, I have been the worst proposee. Is that the right word? Proposee? I've been the worst proposee in the entire world. This is why I can't go down a spiral and think about this too much because, so say for example, I'm thinking, oh, what if I'm proposed to in Finland? I'm thinking, well, if I'm wearing mittens, how can you put a ring on if I'm wearing mittens? Or what if the ring falls in the snow and we can't find it and it's lost forever? Or what if, you know, it's just really cold and actually we're just stuck inside this little hut? Like, is that going to be a little bit anticlimactic? What if I really want to see the Northern Lights and then they don't appear and then I'm in a bad mood and then he proposes and the vibe is ruined? Like, before I get into this, I do not want to hear you say, Faye, you have an issue with control. I know I have an issue with control. I know. I'm not saying any of this is the right behaviour. I'm simply acknowledging its existence, okay? We've cleared that one up. I have so much control over every other area of my life, and that is a deliberate thing. I also have extremely high standards for myself and everything I do, okay? I have no control over this, and it's one of the biggest moments in a person's life. Like, it terrifies me that I can't plan it for myself, you know? Like, I really, really wish I was one of the girlies who could just go with the flow and take things as they are. But I'm not. I have expectations, a vision in my head, what I would like. And I do completely recognise that I'm setting myself up for failure because where my expectations are so high, it's actually quite difficult to meet those. And then that makes me anxious. Like, the thought of being disappointed in such a beautiful, special moment in your life just makes me feel really sad and then anxious that I'm going to feel disappointed. Like, I get disappointed in myself. Like, I did this TED Talk last week and I was so hypercritical of everything. It ended up being a little bit depressing afterwards, and I don't want to feel like that after being proposed to. But if I look back at my history of important moments in my life and how I felt afterwards, often the feeling is disappointment. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe I should have just not started thinking about it. One more thing and then I'm going to get back to work. Because I'm like panicking, thinking I don't want to look like a bowling ball, and I haven't really got many cute warm fits, and it's cold. So cold. The Northern Lights should be there, so that should be fun. But very, very, very cold. Also, warm clothes are extremely expensive. So I got a couple warm bits from Vinted. I did a small ASOS order, and then I got some thermals from M&S. So maybe I'll do a little try on later. Okay, I'm gonna get back to work. It is 11 o'clock. I'm done. I am done. This sociology essay is tearing me a new one. I do not know how to write a sociology essay. I feel like this exploration of ideas is just not working with my sciencey brain. I think the issue that I'm having is I don't really understand the purpose. Like, if you're writing a sciencey essay, the direction is clear that you want to go in. I just don't really understand what is required of me. I think this is the issue. Am I struggling because it's 11 o'clock, or am I struggling because this is not my bag? It's not my bag. The essay that I'm doing is extremely interesting in terms of the topic, but I feel like I'm getting decision paralysis with what I should be writing. I'm just staring at the screen. Like, I don't really know how to verbalise this in a way that will get me a mark that I would like, you know? Cuff me. I want a good mark. So if you have any advice for me by any chance on how to write a essay that is more sociology focused, then please drop it in the comments, because I'm at a loss. And the essay I've got to do tomorrow is a legal and ethics essay as well, which equally is another different bag, different kettle of fish that I'm also not accustomed to. So that will be fun. I also did want to tell you something a little bit more personal after our debrief earlier today, but I'm going to get ready for bed, brush my teeth, do my skincare, and then we'll have a chit chat. I made that sound so ominous, but all I wanted to say was, after I'd explained my proposal hypothesis and I'd stopped filming, I just noticed myself getting into a little bit of an anxiety spiral, thinking about all the things that I don't have control over and I'm not used to being in control, and that kind of stresses me out. And evidently there are issues with control that exist. And I started spiraling. And this week on the podcast we recorded with a psychologist, and this psychologist was talking about inner child work and inner child journaling, or inner child work with a therapist. Something I've been interested in for a while. So I just thought, do you know what? There is clearly like some unresolved issues here that aren't recent. So I was thinking, do you know what? Maybe this is like a good opportunity to just try some journaling. Anyway, I journaled for a very, very, very long time, probably because I was trying to get away from all the uni work that I've got to do, but it was the most healing experience of my life. It really did uncover situations that I'd completely forgotten about and helped me understand how they now do shape my behaviours and my reactions to these things. And then one of the prompts was, now write a letter to your youngest self who was in that situation. What would you like them to know? And that, I cannot tell you the peace it gave me to just type out on the notes app on my phone. Like, I mean, it is quite personal, but just typing out everything I know now that 7-year-old Faye didn't know. It did feel conclusive in a weird way. And I was actually quite shocked at how much it changed my mood, my outlook within a very, very, very short space of time. I think I'm going to try vlog my trip to Finland. So I'm just going to leave this here. So I've still got yaps left in me on Wednesday. So I guess I will speak to you then. My current predictions are Thursday the 12th, because multiples are 2. Because 2, 12 and 22 I tend to see as my lucky numbers. So I think it'll be Thursday the 12th. I think. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one, where maybe, who knows?